Good to see you all tonight. Got a couple of announcements. We've got our men having breakfast in the morning at Cracker Barrel. So, guys, get ready to eat some good grub. Doug Riffey is at the at University of Tennessee Hospital in CVICU, kind of the step-down ICU, and he's going to remain there through Tuesday. Tuesday, they're going to go in, and it kind of sounded to me like an ablation, but they have found some nerves that they think may be firing and causing the issues. So they're going to go in, and it sounds like they're going to cauterize them. And he's on lidocaine right now, and that's really helping him. And he's not had any more episodes today, but he had 14 yesterday. And so thankfully he's feeling much better, but he's just laying low. Of course, he appreciates all of our prayers. And then Tommy, I'm going to be taking Tommy in the morning to see the gastro surgeon about his gallbladder. So likely the gallbladder is going to have to come out. So let's continue to pray for Tommy. I've not talked to him today. Did anybody talk today to Tommy? Okay. What else? Anybody have any other items, announcements? All right, well, let's pray together. Lord, thank you so much that we get together tonight to once again be in your word. God, thank you for the Gospel of Matthew and all the incredible stories we're learning about discipleship and how Jesus lived and the lives he touched and the lessons he taught about the nature of your kingdom. God, we are so privileged to be part of your kingdom, and bless us, Lord, as we continue to grow and discern and love the people around us. Lord, looking forward to the service tomorrow night at Hardin Valley, and a time for area churches to come together to sing and praise you and remember Christ's sacrifice and his resurrection. Lord, thank you for all of our Arlington family, and we pray for those, God, who are struggling right now, especially Tommy and Doug Riffey. Lord, just pray for each of them, that you will help them, God, to gain strength and healing. Lord, thank you for your presence here, and it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, let's dive in to Matthew.
All right, that about does. And it's just, I hate because he'll have good days, and like Sunday, you know. Yeah, he was feeling great Sunday. What's that?
14 shots.
Yeah. Hey.
Is the seat open?
Come on in.
If it's not, we'll add one.
Yeah. I wonder if he's allowed to drive. Doug. Wow.
When I got mine shot, I couldn't drive for it. I didn't want to.
We were just wondering if he's.
Well, he
has been
Bonnie or something that
Oh, I don't know.
one day he was out driving and he could tell it's coming on, so he pulled off the side of the road.
Wow.
I've seen on TV people getting shocked and everything. How
Yeah.
biggest shock you should know.
Yeah.
He's really that bad. I mean, Put you out here on one and put one behind your back and you just die for a few minutes. You wake back up without
Story, yeah.
All right.
Now we
Good.
know the rest of the story.
Oh, goodness. Well, let's read Matthew 20:29 through 21:11. Matthew 29. Because we moved, we skipped, we skipped some, a couple of parables to get in line with Palm Sunday and then, of course, Easter. So, chapter 20, verse 29 through 21:11.
As Jesus and his disciples were leaving Jericho, a large crowd followed him. 2 blind men were sitting by the roadside, and when they heard that Jesus was going by, they shouted, "Lord, Son of David, have mercy on us." The crowd rebuked them and told them to be quiet, but they shouted all the louder, "Lord, Son of David, have mercy on us." Jesus stopped and called them. "What do you want me to do for you?" he asked. "Lord," they answered, "we want our sight." Jesus had compassion on them and touched their eyes. Immediately they received their sight and followed him. As they approached Jerusalem and came into Bethphage on the Mount of Olives, Jesus sent 2 disciples, saying to them, "Go to the village ahead of you, and at once you will find a donkey tied there, with her colt by. Untie them and bring them to me. If anyone says anything to you, tell him that the Lord needs them, and he will send them right away." This took place to fulfill what was spoken through the prophets. "Say to the daughter of Zion, see your king comes to you, gentle and riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey." We're in 11.
To 11. Yeah.
Okay. The disciples went and did as Jesus had instructed them. They brought the donkey and the colt, placed their cloaks on them, and Jesus sat on them. A very large crowd spread their cloaks on the road, while others cut branches from the trees and spread them on the road. The crowds that went ahead of him and those that followed shouted, "Hosanna to the Son of David! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord! Hosanna in the highest!" When Jesus entered Jerusalem, the whole city was stirred and asked, "Who is this?" The crowds answered, "This is Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth in Galilee."
That's a lot of reading. You want to read through 25? Chapter 25?
Read the lesson for this Sunday.
I was just checking.
What'd you do that for?
She did it.
Miss Anita said to pull it in. She's getting the whole room. And
Yeah,
she
it's-
can't hear
it's-
just this table.
It's hard to.
So she asked to pull the mic.
Okay, Miss Anita.
Can you hear me now?
All right, so the first question is, Carol, can you share your questions with Carol so she can look over with you? It says, how would you arrange for the president to have maximum exposure in your town? What parades, what TV talk shows or podcasts? Where would he eat in town and where would he stay the night? To have maximum exposure for the president. Well, he could, if he could have joined the parade of when Tennessee won the national championship with baseball this past year. It's maximum exposure right there.
I didn't see it though. I didn't see
You didn't get to see it?
I had a clue.
Let's see. So to have maximum exposure,
Big hotel downtown somewhere, Gay Street.
Hyatt Regencies.
Yeah, the Hyatt Regency is no more.
Yeah, it's gone. Yeah.
Actually, I think they moved it. I think there is still a Hyatt Regency, but it's downtown. It's down in town, but I'm not sure that it's still called the Hyatt Regency. But yeah, it was bought by somebody. But yeah, that would have been
See, if
The-
I
a
would, if I had
premier
to see,
place.
it'd probably have to be here in Arlington.
here at Arlington.
Yeah, because I really don't go to anything that,
You don't?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I really don't.
We're talking about the average Knoxvilleian.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
no, in halls it'd just be.
So one of our WATE or WBIR, you'd have them on one of the news
Well, they would
stations.
know about it, they'd be out.
I'll see those.
We do cameras.
Do I? I don't either. Yeah. But some people, a lot of people still watch the news.
Oh, okay.
TV talk shows, unless they're on sports talk. Unless they're on
Oh,
sports
stays on Fox News, I'm sorry. I don't watch it, but it's there.
Hey, wait a minute, we can do that.
Push it that way,
Okay.
so that way it doesn't pick up over there.
Thank you. She just said, Miss Anita said she can't. It's picking up the whole room. And so that was why she wanted us to move it.
That's as far as I can get.
Okay.
Thank you, Jacob.
Can you hear us now? She'll answer no.
So where would he eat?
Oh, no.
Captain Crabbe.
Captain
Crabbe.
No.
Maybe Ruth
Chris,
Chris
that's the
yeah,
that was
or Litton's. But I think Ruth Chris probably.
He'd probably like Litton's better.
I tell you, like Clinton.
He likes McDonald's, though.
I know.
He does.
McDonald's
I
across
was
the street.
thinking McDonald's all along.
So where's he going to spend the night?
The place down the river. What's that? The place on the river.
Calhoun?
Calhoun. That's the only one I know. See, that's a pretty place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where's he going to spend the night?
My house.
On a houseboat. On the river.
Yeah, that'd be
Hanging out
good.
at Helen. All right, so I'm not sure why we looked at all those questions.
I think it's maybe the comparison that Jesus was.
Jesus is coming to town.
Yeah.
You could stay at my house too.
Yeah, that would be
Just
So how would you compare the blindness of the two men with that of the disciples in verses 20 through 28? 20 through 28. Okay, is he talking about?
The physical blindness.
spiritual one. That's right. Those two blind men were physically blind in their time. The disciples were more spiritually blind. Yeah. And the two blind men have wanted their physical sight. They don't say this, but it would have helped them spiritually too. Whereas the disciples, they already had their physical sight, and Jesus was teaching to them and everything already, and yet they were still having trouble understanding everything he was done. Yeah.
So this is referring actually to we don't.
We're gonna have to ask them to be quiet.
I'm not a whistler. So this is actually referring to verses 20 through 28.
Okay.
And that's where
Okay.
the mother had the two sons who want Jesus to have one sit at the left and one sit at the right. And Jesus says, "You don't know what you're asking." And he says to them, "Can you drink the cup I'm going to drink?" We can, they answered. Jesus said, "You will indeed drink from my cup, but to sit at my right or left is not for me to grant. These places belong to those for whom they've been prepared by my Father." When the 10 heard about this, they were indignant with the two brothers, and Jesus called them together and said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. So you're comparing their blindness with the two blind men. What did the two blind men want when they wanted their sight?
But they yelled, Lord.
Yeah.
I mean, they said, Lord.
They
Son
said
of
Lord,
David.
and even when the crowd said hush,
They said, no.
they said
They
it just said they got louder.
Yeah.
They got louder. Lord, Son of David, have mercy on us. So that's a messianic title of Jesus, Lord, Son of David, have mercy on us. So when they're asking for him to have mercy on them, are they trying to elevate themselves?
No.
They're lowering themselves.
And praising glory to God.
And the two brothers who are wanting to sit at the right and left hand of Jesus, are they lowering themselves or are they raising themselves?
Elevate themselves to
Yeah.
be
So I
equal
think
to
that's
Christ, it says
the
that.
the difference. I guess in terms of this question, and that's how their requests are different. Is because the two blind men are trying to elevate, are elevating Jesus, and the two disciples are trying to elevate themselves. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So once they're healed, all of a sudden they go quiet. Once healed, what do the blind men do? They literally get in line and start to follow. That's right. Let's see. We want our sight. His compassion. Yeah, immediately they received their sight and followed him. The thing is, it's so understated. There's just not a lot of fanfare about it. You just received your sight. You have been blind,
My whole life, probably.
and now you can see. They don't even talk about it, but
They became clean. They could go into the temple
Oh,
now.
yeah.
They could go worship where before they couldn't.
it's a huge deal. And of course, there again, they're not elevating themselves. And they asked Jesus to have mercy on them. So, but the humility that it had to take to not be making such a big deal about just receiving their sight, to me is pretty interesting.
But they definitely followed him.
They definitely followed him. That's right.
Definitely followed him.
They recognized him before they had their sight.
That's
Yes.
true, because they elevated him.
Even, and they couldn't see him. I mean, they just heard the crowds,
That's right.
I wonder how they knew.
They could just, well, I'm sure people were talking.
Oh, okay. So they were just listening.
They could just hear,
Knew
yeah.
he was close by.
Yeah, when they heard that Jesus was going by, so their sense of hearing was probably quite a bit higher than the activities. My mouth gets dry. So, to what town has Jesus come and why?
Jerusalem. The town of
He's fulfilled.
Bethphage.
I don't know if that's Bethphage or Bethphage. David, are you?
I think it's
good with that?
Bethphage,
Lodge.
which was at Mount of Olives, In the sermon, Mark told us how, you know, at the Mount of Olives, how you could look down over all of Jerusalem. So he was on his way to Jerusalem, but that's where he was at that time.
He was going to fulfill what had been spoken from the prophets.
Yeah, I was looking. I've been in the Old Testament the last month or so, and I've been going back and forth in my maps. Like, where is that? Where is that? Where's that? I'm just trying to find
Okay,
it.
Miss Anita.
Okay.
The disciples are still not understanding. Disciples want prominent place in physical kingdom. Blind men have faith from God.
Absolutely. And so they have absolute faith that Jesus can restore their sight. And the disciples are still trying to figure it out, still trying to figure things out. Somebody said about why he came to that town.
He was on his
What the
way to,
prophets.
it was at the Mount of Olives, he was on his way to Jerusalem. And, you know, like I said, Mark said that, you know, when he got to the Mount of Olives, he could look down all over
That's
Jerusalem, how green and lush everything was. And I imagine that it was right there at the Mount of Olives too. He kind of crossed over from the desert into an area that was just beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever been?
I've been to Israel, yeah. I've been from one to the other.
Have you?
It's been a long time, but yeah.
Man.
I swam in the Dead Sea.
Dead Sea. You floated in the Dead Sea.
Yeah, that's right. I floated. You don't swim. That's true. Yeah.
Someday, I want to go.
On the boat on the sea. Yeah.
Okay.
It was amazing.
Did you go on any of the where you can sort of like follow the trek of either Jesus or Paul or anything like that?
Didn't really do that. I mean, I was with a group. There were times when we would turn loose, you know, when we went to the temple, or the temple, but the synagogue there. I guess you would call it a synagogue. Was that
The Temple Mount?
temple?
Yeah.
Went to the Wailing Wall.
Yeah. I was just saying that's a must.
Yeah, and went to where Jesus had been crucified,
Wow.
where he was buried. So it was pretty amazing.
I bet it was. Do y'all remember when we used to do the videos that the world may know? And they were videos. I forget his name now.
Was that Ray?
Ray Vanderline.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those were so good. I remember those videos. And he would take you to all these different places in Israel and surrounding that go with different stories within Scripture. Anyway, I digress. So Jesus comes on a donkey and not a stallion. What does that? What kind of Messiah does that portray? Yeah. So what is it about the white stallion? What does that portray?
It portrays like a king or something, or a leader, a great leader of people. Yeah.
And it also typically portrays power.
Yeah.
Power and strength
Yeah.
and sort of a domination.
Right. And that he's out to conquer whatever he can. Yeah.
And you see Jesus in Revelation. What's that?
Respect.
Yep. So you see Jesus in Revelation on a white horse. And that's a whole different picture of Jesus with the robe dipped in blood. So he's been to battle, and he's continuing to be in battle.
That's right.
But
It's
this,
showing the way now.
That's right. And it
this
shows-
is yeah, very different than
I
that.
was just going to say, it shows he has defeated sin and death, and that he's bringing all his people together to one place for eternity. Yeah. And
Talking about-
nothing's going to stop it.
You talking about Revelation, the
Yeah.
white horse? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, when you're talking about a donkey and the foal, the colt of the donkey,
Well, that shows he was being humble, he was being lowly, and he was getting down on the people's level and everything.
yeah.
I think he's also making a statement there saying, you know, the kingdom you're looking for is not the kingdom that I'm bringing in.
Right.
Because they were looking for him to come in and destroy their enemies.
Right.
And that's not.
A physical kingdom. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not what he was.
Come in gently and
So so I guess a donkey would then just be a typical mode of transportation. It's not something elevated or it's just
It might be like President Trump coming in here in a Volkswagen.
and a little red wagon
Yeah, yeah.
I love my little Volkswagen.
Well, yeah, good cars, but, you know.
compared to
1973 Super Beetle. I mean, come on.
Let's make it a scooter then.
Okay. All right. That's funny. So yeah, so we said what that portrays. Why such a large crowd at this time of year? They're in Jerusalem.
Passover, right after Passover.
Yeah, so you would have this huge number of. I think they said that it would swell to like 2 to 3 times its normal size of people. So that's a lot of people that are coming in just to do that. Just to.
And isn't it interesting that that's when he chose to go into town on the donkey?
Oh, it's very intentional.
I mean, yeah.
It's
they
very
said
intentional.
It was all in the plan.
Yeah. So what did we say they were coming to? Everybody was coming in for Passover. And just looking at your testing your Old Testament knowledge of the Passover, what was that about?
That was the 10th plague. When God sent the death angel to Egypt to kill the firstborn son, not just man, but the animals as well. And for them to be able to have the death angel go pass over, they had to have the blood of a lamb on the post, side post, and the top post where they lived. And it's just, you know, when you look at Jesus, he's the Passover.
It's
It's
a
his blood that
remembrance.
saves us.
Just like we have the Lord's Supper for remembrance. That was their remembrance.
And they had a lot of them. They had a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it's a really, if you don't take the opportunity to go back and read the Old Testament, because you will always find something new or something else that you didn't notice or see before. But there were tons of these things to remember. just to help them remember. And they were all
They
typically
had to make
having,
sacrifices too, for everything. Yeah.
and they all meant something.
That's right, yeah. And that's just like the days of feast or whatever, there was those that they had,
Yeah.
which was in remembrance of certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So for Jesus to come into town at the time that they're having, or observing Passover, is so very intentional, and should, in one way, the people, they begin to do what?
Shout Hosanna.
Yeah, they're
Hosanna.
putting everything down.
Yeah.
On the ground, the palm branches, their cloaks, whatever,
Lifting him up.
and saying,
Hosanna in the
Hosanna in the
highest.
highest, which means save us, or oh save.
I think what's interesting too is the fact that the Passover that was experienced in the Old Testament, when you look at that, and you look at the Ten Commandments, you find the Ten Commandments listed twice in the Scriptures. But when you read them in Deuteronomy, they've added to the fourth commandment to remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. They've also added to remember when the Lord led his children out of captivity of Egypt. And that was something that was also supposed to be remembered. So I think it's pretty amazing how all this just
Everything
together.
fits.
It does.
It's like a
Yeah.
little puzzle.
And yet, it's really hard for them to understand kingdom and the kind of kingdom.
They've
And-
never experienced anything that
They
even
have
resembled
different
that to them.
kingdoms, you know, with
Kingdoms,
kings.
kings and kingdoms.
Yeah. And this is so different because it's like some people have referred to it as an upside down kingdom, which is, instead of it going like this, it goes like this.
Well, Jesus even stated that he came to turn things upside down. Yeah. You know, that things were not going to stay the same like they had been.
Or was it they said in the series? Oh man,
It shows.
yeah. What was it? Get used to different was one of the things he said to the disciples. He said this is different. He said get used to different. All right. So we talked about the crowd and what they shouted and why.
Oh, Miss Anita said, did anybody notice there were two donkeys?
Yes.
If you want to really talk, read Exodus 13, 3 through 16. Both places, God is beginning a new creation for his chosen people.
Exodus
13, 3 through 16.
Then Moses said to the people, commemorate this day, the day you came out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery, because the Lord brought you out of it with a mighty hand. Eat nothing containing yeast. Today, in the month of
Aviv.
Aviv, you are leaving. When the Lord brings you into the land of Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Hivites, anyway, the land he swore to your forefathers to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, you are to observe this ceremony in this month. For 7 days eat bread made without yeast, and on the seventh day hold a festival to the Lord. Eat unleavened bread during those 7 days. Nothing with yeast in it is to be seen among you, nor shall any yeast be seen anywhere within your borders. On that day, tell your son, I do this because of what the Lord did for me when I came out of Egypt. Is that where you want me to stop? 9?
13.
Oh, okay.
16.
This observance will be for you like a sign on your hand and a reminder of your forehead, on your forehead, that the law of the Lord is to be on your lips. For the Lord brought you out of Egypt with his mighty hand. You must keep this ordinance at the appointed time year after year, after the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites and gives it to you, as he promised on the oath to you and your forefathers. You are to give over to the Lord the first offspring of every womb, all the firstborn males of your livestock belong to the Lord. Redeem with the lamb every firstborn donkey. But if you do not redeem it, break its neck. Redeem every firstborn among your sons. In days to come, when your son asks you, what does this mean? Say to him, that the mighty hand of the Lord brought us out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery, when Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go. The Lord killed every firstborn in Egypt, both man and animal. This is why I sacrifice to the Lord the first male offspring in every womb, and redeem each of my firstborn sons, and it will be like a sign on your hand and a symbol on your forehead that the Lord brought us out of Egypt with his mighty hand.
In both places, God is beginning a new creation for his chosen people. But only Matthew mentions it. None of the other writers mention that.
And is that, when she says Matthew mentions it, is it when,
Talk about the donkey.
is it talking about just the donkeys itself, the donkey in the fold?
Miss Anita, is it just the donkeys in the fold, or the new beginning, the new creation? So did they take both the donkey and the fold?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it says in verse 6, 21:6, the disciples went and did as Jesus had instructed. They brought the donkey and the colt and placed their cloaks on them for Jesus to sit on.
Was in them. Right. He told them that the Lord needs them, and he will send them right away.
Mm-hmm.
The donkey and the foal.
Yeah, it'd
Yep.
have to be, yeah, it'd have to be both.
So, yeah.
It says unite them and bring them to me.
I've seen that. I mean, I've seen that you had both of them, but I didn't know why. I never really knew
Because he was,
why.
but he just rode on the colt, correct?
Right. Yeah.
But it does say to bring them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
Not-
because
Oh, untied. I said you. I'm like, what?
She said, God is beginning a new creation. Donkey and foal is symbolic language.
Okay.
Like the firstborn or the,
Interesting.
I don't,
I don't,
let me explain first, explain that symbolic. Explain the donkey and the foal being symbolic. The mother and child.
Yeah, that's all. It's mother and
I mean,
child.
that's not what she said, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
could it be the mother and child?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, because I was going back and looking at that, what we were looking at in
In
Exodus.
Exodus. Well,
All
there
of
he
that
was
was to
starting a new
remember.
creation because he was bringing the people out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
And
that
so
was-
basically
so
they
new
are going
creation is
into,
the fold.
yeah, because they're going into Canaan.
She's tapping.
We're preparing to go into Canaan.
Redeem with the lamb every firstborn donkey, but if you do not redeem it, break its neck. So there's something about redemption.
I think she's just saying that
With the lamb.
when you talk about the donkey and the foal, it's symbolic of a new creation.
New life, new creation.
Yeah. Let's see. So we said, what did they shout and why? What kind of king were they expecting, and how did their wishes compare with the reality of Jesus?
They were expecting physical,
Yeah, earthly.
or, yeah,
Yeah.
in front of their eyes.
Earthly king.
How are their wishes compare?
And power,
Okay.
Yeah.
in their world, power had to be force, like it couldn't be anything else.
Right.
It's like they had to take it or something.
Okay,
Right.
she
Yeah,
said,
it wasn't just given to them.
the time here is Passover. Jesus is the lamb. The donkey's foal reminds them that this has happened before when they entered Canaan.
Okay.
Was the first one.
When the firstborn donkey. Redeemed with the lamb, every firstborn donkey, so.
Well, see, but if they didn't have the blood, then their firstborn died of everything. So the blood, and then Jesus is the redeeming lamb.
Redeeming lamb.
Uh-huh. And so then,
Well, that's
Learn
deep,
something
Miss
new every
Anita.
day.
thank you, Miss Anita.
That is
You
deep.
have deepened our
Yeah.
thoughts.
Yeah. Let's see. So, how might that discrepancy account for the same crowd shouting later on, crucify him?
Because he didn't bring what they thought.
How might that discrepancy? So, it's
In
the, I
what
guess
they
the
thought.
discrepancy between what they
We're expecting
expecting and the reality.
of what it was.
They didn't believe he was the Messiah
Right.
because their opinions or their perception of what was coming was
Totally different.
totally different than what actually came.
Well, and that's exactly right. And you think back to the number of times that we have talked about Jesus interacting with the disciples, and he's talking to them. He tells them things. He shows them things, and then he asks, "Who do people say that I am?" And they're like, "Well, some people say you're a
Elisha.
prophet.
Yeah.
Somebody say you're John the Baptist reincarnated." And he says, and Peter said, he says, "Who do you say I am?" Peter says, "You are the Christ.
The Son
You
of
are
the
the
living
Messiah,
God."
the Son of the living God." So Jesus talks about the fact that on that rock I'll build my church, and the gates of hell will not overcome it. Then he says what? Don't tell anybody what I just told you. Because they did not understand Messiah the way that it was going to be. And
Know what Messiah really was.
yeah, so for them, Messiah means conqueror, king, power, all those things that we just talked about. And
I'm glad I'm here today and not back then, because I wouldn't understand it either.
Well, now here's the question. If you were in there, but she said that the people in Egypt had become free from being slaves. So see, that was their freedom with the Passover. And now Jesus brings freedom from slavery, from sins.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
wow, that's good. That is awesome. Did I finish? I don't remember if because, and the reason I brought that up is the whole thing about Messiah. And he would show them and demonstrate and do all these things, and then he'd say, don't tell anybody I'm the Messiah, because what you think is not correct. It's not right. So don't go telling people I'm the Messiah. Number one, it's so that they're not misunderstanding, but
Misrepresenting what
also,
he's actually done.
yeah, but also for their safety. If they are going around saying we are with the Messiah, we say they're jeopardizing, they're putting themselves in jeopardy. So what you say is like,
Don't tell people.
don't tell people. So what did they say when Jesus rides in on this donkey and the crowd sing Hosanna to the,
Save us.
Save us.
okay, but when he gets into town, who did they say he was?
A forest,
Verse 11.
Who is this? The crowds answered, this is Jesus the prophet from Nazareth in Galilee.
What did they call him?
Prophet.
A prophet. So they still don't really quite know who Jesus is, and now he's a prophet, from Nazareth. And what did they say about Nazareth? They said nothing good ever. Nothing good comes from Nazareth. I was going to say it, but I'm not going to say it.
I'll say it.
Nothing good comes from Alabama.
I did not say that.
That's what you was thinking.
I did not say that. Did you hear what she said?
Me, ain't you? Low life. What loving she gives?
Born in Alabama.
Born in Georgia.
Okay,
See, there you go.
So you're safe.
But
We know a lot of good people
Yeah.
in Georgia.
She said you have to remember how immersed these people were in meanings.
Yeah.
This was Passover, which they had been drilled into their heads for as long as they could remember.
and that's what's and that
I will be quiet now.
and that process and that blood
The meaning of
is
that
what
blood.
saved them and brought them when he brought them out of Egypt. All of that was because of that blood that was shed.
But you can look at too. I mean, even after Jesus rose from the dead, his disciples are still saying, when will the kingdom
Come.
will you bring your kingdom in? They're still looking for the physical people.
And those three had been on the mount. We learned a couple of weeks ago, with Moses and Elijah.
Yeah.
And they're still saying the same thing.
Let's see. That discrepancy between them saying Hosanna and the highest, save us, and they're realizing he's not the one that's going to do that, so they say, crucify him. Crucify him. And we can be pretty hard on people, as like an armchair quarterback kind of thing. You know what I'm talking about? We can be very judgmental about all these things, but when you're confused, when you don't understand, something, it's hard. It would be hard. It would be hard for them.
Most people follow the crowd too. Whatever the majority is saying, most people seem to fall in line with that.
Join
They
in.
must be right, Yeah.
Yeah. But the good thing is that at least they have all come to remember the Passover.
Right.
And you've got these crowds that are coming, and there is so much that is about to happen, within, a fairly short period of time, because a lot of these people will still be in town as some events, take place. So it says, what difference, number 9, what difference does it make to you that Jesus is a gentle king and not like the one described in 2025? So 2025, what's the...
It's just that Jesus called them unto him and said, you know that the prince of the Gentiles exercise dominion over them, and they that are great exercise authority upon them.
Right. So he's talking about
Oh, he's,
looking at, looking at a Gentile, looking at rulers, just rulers in general. And they exercise their authority.
that's right, and those that were at the bottom of the ladder or whatever paid the most taxes and everything and were treated worse than those that were higher on the ladder.
Yeah.
And he says it's gonna be upside down.
Right.
But when you think about this kind of a ruler, and then you look at Jesus coming in on a colt of a donkey, which we said shows his gentle
He's humble.
humility. So, what difference does that make to you? That he is a gentle king and not one who lords it over people, like a ruthless ruler.
Yeah,
That-
go ahead.
That means that he is to help us and do for us what we need when we come to him and ask him for what we need done.
Instead of dictating.
Right.
Yeah, we read a verse earlier. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, he gives us choice to choose whether we will do what he wants us to do or do what Satan wants us to do. Yeah.
Yeah, a ruthless ruler doesn't usually give you choices.
No.
What were you going to say?
Well, and also we had read earlier where Jesus had just said, that he did not come to be served, but he came to serve instead. And this is what he's trying to get across to us, because when he's asked, what is the greatest commandment? He didn't give just one, he gave two. And the second one was to love your neighbor as yourself. You can't do the first one unless you do the second one. And that's why he had to give two commandments. Yeah. So he's teaching us what we need to be able to enter into the kingdom of heaven. We can't be selfish. We can't put ourselves above other people. We have to put others above ourselves. And that's not our nature. Our nature is to take care of ourselves first, our families first. It's just human nature.
And he calls us to be different than our human nature.
Exactly.
He calls us to help others, give to others, do for others, instead of just, helping me, doing for me, and that it's all about me, because no, it's all about Jesus and what he wants us to do.
Absolutely. Let's see. How we doing on time? We got 5 minutes. How would you have reacted if you had been there to greet Jesus riding into town? Do you jump on political or religious bandwagons today? Why or why not? So it's really a couple of questions. How would you have reacted if you had been there to greet Jesus riding into town? I was thinking about what you just said. A lot of people just follow. Just what's the
Everybody's following
crowd?
Yeah, when a mob kind of breaks out, that's what,
They don't even know what they're yelling for.
yeah,
They
that's
just,
what that's all they think is, well, it must be right, and if you just follow.
Blind following the blind.
Exactly.
But if they're shouting, Hosanna.
save me.
But then they turn right around and say, crucify.
yeah, but that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, it hasn't helped.
But him riding in on the donkey and they're calling for him to save them.
If they just thought he was a prophet, wonder why they would think that he can save them.
Well, they say Hosanna to the Son of David.
Right.
Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord.
Well,
prophets
name of
had
it. They
had
didn't
words
copy.
from God.
Right.
They were spoken
Okay, yeah,
to
that's,
from God, so they
they
knew
knew
what
he was from God, but they didn't know who he was.
they didn't know he was at the right hand of God.
Right.
Because it says, you know, he enters in Jerusalem and the whole city was stirred asking, who is this? And that's when the crowds, like you said, this is Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth.
You just hope you'd be the one hollering, save us. Hosanna.
Yeah, exactly. So then he likens that to today. Do you jump on political or religious bandwagons today? So whatever's in the news or whatever is the latest, either gossip or whatever, you know, that's being touted. And, you know, people will kind of get whipped up into a frenzy about things, and they're worried and they're, oh no, you know, sky's falling kind of thing. How do you temper that? How do you keep from letting that control you?
You know, you can be influenced greatly by what you watch on TV. If I'm liberal, I'm going to be watching liberal news about politics. If I'm conservative, I'm watching conservative news about politics. But either way, they're going to go way to the left or way to the right in what they teach. So you have to keep your mind clear and know that, hey,
Somebody could be wrong.
everything that they're saying on the left is not so. Everything that they're saying on the right is not so. It's going to be somewhere in between there.
Yeah.
You know.
There's always two sides to every story,
There
and the truth
definitely
is in the middle.
Well, the doctor says two sides to every pancake.
Yeah, you're right. I mean,
Yeah,
so
discerning, trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And not be influenced.
I had to be honest with you. I like one of my favorite channels or programs is the Five. But I know when I watch it,
Yeah.
they're going to be
it's not
way over to the
100%.
right.
It's the what?
The five.
the Five, it's
So I
on
can't-
Fox
Five
News.
o'clock, Fox
But I
News.
can't take everything
Yeah.
that they say
You
is
just have
not
to-
true.
I always feel,
Because I know
I always
what
feel
it's
sorry
not.
for the one liberal. The one liberal.
She's been absent for a little while. She back?
Who are we talking about? Jessica?
Yeah, I don't know.
Jessica comes and goes, it's between.
They have
her.
several, yeah.
Yeah, they have several.
But you're right.
Yeah.
You've got, if you turn over to a liberal channel, they're gonna be whipping into a frenzy on the left, and the ones, the conservatives are gonna be whipping up a frenzy to the right. So my thing is, I listen to the news, but I don't really,
Believe everything they say.
well, I'm not a big consumer
Right,
of it.
right,
I just try to stay abreast of what's happening
right,
in the
yeah.
world.
Which is
No.
supposed to be, I don't even watch. I have no idea. I know.
Yeah.
I know,
If y'all find out the world's falling, then you better call me, because I
Well, see,
have
that's
no
what Bobby
idea.
Lynn said. Bobby Lynn, she's like, I just can't watch it. I just can't watch that.
Right.
I watch it, but I
Or
try
listen.
and discern on what's really being said and then what's.
It doesn't matter.
Well,
Yeah.
on the Five, they've got this one guy who's liberal,
You're talking about Harold.
Harold. He makes more sense than anybody.
He does.
You
He's-
know, he should run for president because he is.
Well, they tell him all the time he needs to be.
He's from Tennessee, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a Tennessee congressman from Memphis.
But
He used to be a congressman, but he's out of it now.
I don't agree with all of his politics, but I agree with his attitude. He's
a
got.
Christian.
He's level-headed.
The reason
very
he got
level-headed.
out, he got
So the rest
busted
of
for a money deal.
He got busted for a money deal.
I didn't know that.
See, I didn't know that.
That's in the past.
Well, yeah, you forget what happened.
Dummy here watch too much of it. I get bored, I go to a Western with it.
Yeah,
So I
Western.
like to hear him, his comments.
Yeah, but again, it's just one of those things where you kind of take it with a grain of salt, and you're like, you know,
You have to discern. Just
yeah. And I think that's, you know, so jumping on a political or religious bandwagon today, I would just say be very, very careful, you know.
Okay, so, yeah.
Because there, like you said, there are always two sides,
Everything can.
and there are always people who are on those two sides, who believe strongly one way or the other. So you have to be careful some of the things you say, and you know, so that you're not stomping all over one person's opinion or view because you want to make your view, you know. So
There's good and bad on both sides.
absolutely.
And you just take this to measure what people are saying.
That's right. Yeah.
All right, how do you reconcile Jesus' kingdom with his humility?
The love. I mean, I think that's the bottom line.
Yeah, I think that's probably a winner. It's through the love that's being shown.
I mean, through his
that's
death,
been-
resurrection, I mean, everything. Everything's in love.
And
And he
so
expects
understanding,
the same from us.
yeah, and understanding is what his kingdom looks like. And
The humility helps you also, you would want a relationship with somebody that has the humility instead of the dictatorship, you know? You want to know that person.
you kind of want to know what makes them tick, and how can I do that? How can I be like that? How can I, you know, I want to be like you when I grow up, kind of thing. Boy, these questions tonight are like, in what ways do you feel spiritually blind? How is your sight better now than 6 months ago? And if Jesus said, what do you want me to do for you? How would you answer? So, in what ways do you feel spiritually blind? I think for me, one of the things is, like when Anita is talking about, we've seen this before. This goes back to, you know,
Yeah.
tying so many of these themes that continue, that repeat, and new life, new creation, you know, a lot of those things that we learned about. I feel like I miss it, or I don't connect.
It is in that reading of the Old Testament.
Yeah.
Over and over and over. You start to realize, you start to see the connections.
Yeah. And it's so, I mean, it's so important to do, and so making the time to do it is a real challenge. It's-
Well, this right here is making time to do it,
Yeah.
to stay and to.
oh, absolutely.
Absolutely, but every day to
Every
pick up
day,
that
yeah.
Bible, to
Yeah.
pick this Bible up and open it up and read it.
Yeah. How's your sight better than 6 months ago?
I think it's improved.
Yeah, I do too, just from a lot of what we've talked about.
Yes.
So if Jesus said, what do you want me to do for you? How would you answer? Take me away.
Working quickly.
You know what our answer should probably be? Like, I'd like for you to fix Doug's part. I'd like for you to help Tommy to get over what he's going through. That's really the
You would hope that that's what, yeah,
I would hope so.
Very, yeah, completely selfless.
yeah. Completely
I
selfish.
think that's what he would like